The longest flight home. The airplane wheels touched down at 6:47 a.m., exactly 12 hours and 16 minutes after takeoff. Sarah pressed her forehead against the cool window, watching the tarmac blur past, her heart hammering with anticipation. Beside her, 9-year-old Emma stirred from sleep, rubbing her eyes. "Are we here, Mommy?" "We're here, baby." Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand, feeling the weight of the small velvet box in her jacket pocket. 10 years, a decade of marriage to Michael, and she'd planned this surprise for months, flying across the country with Emma while he thought they were still visiting her mother in Seattle. The anniversary gift tucked safely in her luggage, a vintage Rolex she'd saved for over a year to afford. The same model he'd admired in a shop window on their honeymoon. Emma yawned, her dark curls falling across her face. "Daddy's going to be so happy." "I hope so, sweetheart." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. God, she hoped so. The past year had been hard. Michael's new job consuming him. Late nights at the office, business trips that stretched longer than planned. This surprise was supposed to bridge the distance that had grown between them, remind him of what they had, what they'd built together. The taxi ride from the airport took 40 minutes through morning traffic. Sarah watched familiar streets slide past, her excitement building with each turn. She'd timed it perfectly, arriving home just after 7, early enough to slip into bed beside him, wake him with kisses, see that sleepy smile she'd fallen in love with 15 years ago. "Mommy, you're squeezing too hard," Emma whispered. Sarah loosened her grip on her daughter's hand, not realizing how tightly she'd been holding it. "Sorry, baby. I'm just excited." The house looked exactly as they'd left it 5 days ago. The white colonial with blue shutters they'd bought 3 years back. The maple tree in the front yard just beginning to turn autumn gold. Sarah paid the driver, pulling their luggage from the trunk as quietly as possible. Emma helped with her small backpack, practically bouncing with excitement. They crept up the front steps, Sarah's hands trembling slightly as she fitted her key into the lock. The house was silent. Dim morning light filtered through the curtains, casting everything in soft gray. Sarah left the suitcases by the door, slipping off her shoes. Emma did the same, and together they tiptoed up the carpeted stairs, Sarah's heart racing so fast she felt dizzy. The master bedroom door stood slightly ajar. Sarah could hear steady breathing from inside. Michael, deeply asleep. She turned to Emma, putting a finger to her lips, then gently pushed the door open. The scene that greeted her didn't compute at first. Her brain couldn't process what her eyes were seeing. Michael lay sprawled across the bed, shirtless, one arm flung above his head. The sheets were tangled around his waist. And sitting on the edge of the bed, on her side of the bed, was a woman with disheveled blonde hair wearing what appeared to be one of Michael's t-shirts. Her vision tunneled. The woman turned, and the world stopped. Jessica, her sister, her younger sister with the bright laugh and easy smile, the one who'd been her maid of honor, who'd held Emma as a newborn, who'd stayed with them for 2 weeks last Christmas because she'd had nowhere else to go. "Sarah?" Jessica stood abruptly, her face draining of color. "Oh my God, Sarah, you're not supposed to—" The words hit like physical blows. "You're not supposed to be here. Not, this isn't what it looks like. Not, I can explain. You're not supposed to be here." Which meant they'd planned this, planned for Sarah to be gone, planned to have the house to themselves. Sarah's body moved on autopilot. She grabbed Emma's hand, one that she let go, and turned, pulling her daughter away from the doorway. Behind her, she heard rustling. Michael's groggy voice, "Jess, what's—" She didn't wait to hear more. Her feet carried her down the stairs, each step feeling like wading through concrete. Emma stumbled beside her, making small, confused sounds, but Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think beyond the singular need to get out. The suitcases. She needed the suitcases. Her hands shook so badly she could barely grip the handles. Emma's backpack. Where was— There. She grabbed it. Sarah, wait!" Jessica's voice from the top of the stairs, panicked. "Please, let me explain." Sarah wrenched open the front door. The morning air hit her face, cool and sharp. She dragged the luggage outside, Emma following, and pulled out her phone with numb fingers. Uber. She needed an Uber. Hell. Airport. Anywhere but here. Sarah! Michael this time, thundering down the stairs. She heard the front door bang open behind her as she ushered Emma toward the curb. Sarah, stop! Just stop and let us talk to you. Us. He said us. The Uber app swam in her vision. 3 minutes away. She could last 3 minutes. Michael appeared in her peripheral vision, wearing sweatpants now, his hair wild. Sarah, please. This isn't... He reached for her arm. Sarah jerked away so violently she nearly dropped her phone. Don't. The word came out raw, barely recognizable as her own voice. Don't you dare touch me. Mommy? Emma's voice was small, frightened. She'd wrapped both arms around Sarah's waist, pressing her face into her mother's side. Michael's face crumpled. Baby, this isn't what you think. We were just... Jessica came over last night because she was upset and we were talking. And I fell asleep and... Talking. Sarah heard herself laugh. A brittle, broken sound. In my bed. Well, she's wearing your clothes. Sarah, Jessica had appeared now too, wrapped in Sarah's own bathrobe. The bathrobe Sarah had gotten for her birthday last year. The soft blue one that Michael had said matched her eyes. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. We never meant... How long? The question came out barely above a whisper. Jessica and Michael exchanged a look. That one glance told Sarah everything she needed to know. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This was something that had been going on, something they'd hidden, something they'd built while Sarah worked overtime at the hospital, while she took Emma to soccer practice and piano lessons, while she planned anniversary surprises for a husband who was fucking her sister. 6 months, Michael said finally, his voice breaking. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to find out this way. I was going to tell you, I swear. I just didn't know how. 6 months, half a year. Well, she'd been sleeping beside him, making love to him, planning our future. 6 months of lies. A silver Toyota pulled up to the curb, the Uber. Sarah grabbed Emma and the luggage, throwing everything into the backseat. Sarah, please. Michael moved toward the car. Don't take Emma. At least let's talk about Emma. Sarah climbed in beside her daughter, slamming the door. Through the window, she could see Michael's face contorting, Jessica behind him with her hands pressed to her mouth, both of them looking like characters in someone else's nightmare. Just drive, Sarah told the startled driver. Please, just drive. The car pulled away from the curb. Sarah kept her eyes forward, refusing to look back, even as she heard Michael shouting her name. Beside her, Emma had gone very still, her small body rigid. They drove in silence for several minutes, Sarah's mind blank with shock. The driver, an older man with kind eyes visible in the rearview mirror, didn't ask questions. The GPS showed a route to the nearest Holiday Inn. Sarah's hands had apparently completed the booking on autopilot. Emma shifted, pressing closer to her mother. Her voice, when it came, was so quiet Sarah almost didn't hear it. Mommy, Sarah wrapped her arm around her daughter, pulling her close. It's okay, baby. Everything's going to be okay. The lie tasted bitter. Mommy, don't worry. Something in Emma's tone made Sarah look down. Her daughter's face was eerily calm, almost serene, too calm for a 9-year-old who just witnessed her parents' world imploding. Emma looked up, meeting her mother's eyes. I've already punished Daddy. The words hung in the air between them, impossible and terrifying. Sarah's mind tried to make sense of them, tried to fit them into some innocent context, and failed. What? Her voice came out strangled. Emma, what do you mean? But Emma just turned to look out the window, a small, satisfied smile playing at the corners of her mouth. He won't hurt you anymore, Mommy. I made sure. The hotel room was generic and beige, the kind of space designed to be forgotten. Sarah sat on the edge of the bed, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles had gone white, watching Emma unpack her backpack with methodical precision. Emma, her voice sounded foreign to her own ears. Look at me. Emma turned, her dark eyes, Michael's eyes, regarding her mother with an expression far too mature for her face. Yes, Mommy? What did you mean? In the car? Sarah's heart was hammering again, but differently now, with fear, with dawning horror. What did you mean when you said you'd punished Daddy? Emma tilted her head, considering. I saw them, Mommy. Last month, when you were working the night shift, I got up to get water, and I saw Aunt Jessica leaving Daddy's room. She was wearing the same t-shirt she had on today. The room tilted. Emma, I watched them for weeks. Emma's voice was conversational, almost cheerful. Daddy thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. I saw everything. She paused, picking up her stuffed rabbit, stroking its worn ears. They hurt you. They made you cry. I heard you crying in the bathroom, Mommy, even when you tried to be quiet. Sarah felt ice water flooding through her veins. Baby, what did you do? Emma sat down beside her on the bed, swinging her legs. Remember when you asked me to pack Daddy's travel mug for his business trip? The one last week? The business trip. To Chicago. Michael had called from the airport, complaining about stomach cramps, said he'd barely made his flight. He'd spent the entire 3-day trip texting her about how sick he felt, how he couldn't keep anything down. What did you put in it? The question came out barely audible. Just some things from Aunt Jessica's purse. The pills she takes for her depression. I looked them up on your computer. They're not dangerous if you take the right amount, but if you take too many, she shrugged. The internet said they can make you really, really sick. Heart problems, especially if you mix them with alcohol. Sarah's mind was racing, trying to remember Michael's texts, his calls. He'd sounded terrible, yes, but not hospital-level sick. He'd said his stomach hurt, that he had heart palpitations, that he felt dizzy. She told him to rest, to drink water, to see a doctor if it got worse. Emma, that's poisoning. Do you understand? He deserved it. For the first time, Emma's composure cracked, her voice rising. He was hurting you. He was with Aunt Jessica when he was supposed to love you. He's a bad man, and bad men need to be punished. Sarah grabbed her daughter's shoulders. Emma, listen to me. You can never. But what could she say? That violence wasn't the answer? That what Michael did was wrong, but attempting to poison him was worse? How do you explain moral complexity to a 9-year-old who just watched her entire family structure collapse? Emma's eyes filled with tears. I just wanted to protect you, like you always protect me. I heard what the other moms said at soccer about how Daddy was probably cheating, about how you were too trusting, about how everyone could see it except you. She hiccuped, tears spilling over. I wanted to make him stop. I wanted to make him hurt like he hurt you. Sarah pulled her daughter into her arms, holding her as Emma finally broke down, sobbing against her chest. But even as she murmured soothing words, even as she stroked Emma's hair, Sarah's mind was spinning with horrifying calculations. How many pills had Emma given him? How often? Was Michael actually in danger, or had it been a small enough dose to just make him sick? Should she call him, warn him, tell him to see a doctor? And if she did, what then? Would Michael call the police? Would Emma be taken away? Would Sarah lose custody for failing to supervise her daughter? And underneath all of it, beneath the horror and fear, was something else. Something dark and ugly that Sarah didn't want to acknowledge. A small, vicious part of her that whispered, good, let him suffer. Let them both suffer. She hated that voice, but she couldn't make it stop. The call came 3 hours later. Sarah had been sitting in the hotel bathroom, door locked, trying to decide what to do when her phone buzzed. Michael's name flashed across the screen. She answered without thinking. Hello? Sarah? His voice was rough, desperate. Thank God. Please, we need to talk. I need to explain. Is Jessica still there? Silence. Then, she left. Sarah, please, just listen. Are you feeling okay? Have you been sick? What? No, What does that matter? Sarah, I love you. This thing with Jessica, it was a mistake, it got out of hand, but I love you. I love Emma. Please, come home so we can talk about this. Sarah closed her eyes. He sounded fine. Normal. Whatever Emma had done, it hadn't caused lasting damage. Relief and disappointment warred in her chest. I need time, she heard herself say. I need time to think. How much time? Sarah, please. I can't lose you. I can't lose my family. He was crying now, she realized. Michael, who never cried, was sobbing into the phone. I'll do anything, counseling, whatever you want. Just please don't give up on us. Us. There was that word again. But which us? The us that included Emma? Or the us that had included Jessica? I have to go, Sarah said quietly. Don't call me again. I'll contact you when I'm ready. She hung up before he could respond, her hands shaking. In the other room, she could hear the television playing one of Emma's favorite shows, the laugh track jarring against the situation. Sarah looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back looked haggard, older than her 34 years. Dark circles under her eyes, grief etched into every line of her face. But there was something else there too, something harder, something that hadn't been there 12 hours ago, when she'd been on a plane with her daughter, excited to surprise her husband, believing in the fairy tale. She pulled out her phone again, scrolling through her contacts until she found the name she was looking for. Diane, her divorce attorney friend from college, the one she'd kept in touch with over the years, the one who'd once joked that she could get Sarah an amazing settlement if Michael ever proved to be as big an asshole as Diane suspected. Sarah had laughed then. She wasn't laughing now. Her finger hovered over the call button. This was it, the moment of decision. Call Diane, and there was no going back. The marriage would be over, officially and irrevocably. Emma would grow up in a broken home, shuttling between parents. Sarah would have to tell everyone, her mother, her friends, her colleagues, that her marriage had failed, that her husband had chosen her sister over her. But staying meant what? Pretending everything was fine? Trying to rebuild trust with a man who'd spent 6 months fucking her sister in their bed? Teaching Emma that betrayal could be forgiven, that women should accept whatever crumbs of affection men chose to throw their way? Teaching Emma that poisoning people was acceptable as long as you loved the person you were trying to protect? That thought stopped her cold. Emma. What was she going to do about Emma? Her daughter hadn't actually hurt anyone. The pills had made Michael sick, but he'd recovered. Should Sarah tell someone anyway? Get Emma into therapy? But then she'd have to explain what Emma had done. And even if the therapist was bound by confidentiality, there were limits. If they believed Emma was a danger to herself or others, her head throbbed. Every choice seemed impossible. Every path led to different devastation. A soft knock on the bathroom door. Mommy? Are you okay? Sarah looked at her reflection one last time, then opened the door. Emma stood there, her face blotchy from crying, still clutching her stuffed rabbit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I scared you. I'm sorry I did something bad. Sarah knelt down, taking her daughter's face in her hands. Emma, I need you to promise me something. Can you do that? Emma nodded. Promise me you will never, ever try to hurt someone again. Not Daddy, not Aunt Jessica, not anyone. No matter how angry you are, no matter how much you think they deserve it. Promise me. But Mommy, promise me, Emma. Sarah's voice was firm. What you did was wrong. I know you were trying to help me, and I know you're angry at Daddy, but you could have seriously hurt him. Do you understand? You could have killed him. Emma's eyes widened. But I didn't. I only gave him a little bit. It doesn't matter. You can't control what happens when you do something like that. You can't predict how someone's body will react. Sarah pulled her daughter into a fierce hug. I love you so much, baby. But I need you to promise me you'll never do anything like that again. I need you to promise you'll talk to me instead, or to a counselor, or to someone who can help. But never, ever try to hurt someone yourself. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a small voice, I promise, Mommy. Sarah held her daughter, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. and wondered if she was making the right choice by not reporting this. Wondered if she was protecting her daughter or enabling something dark that might grow worse with time. But she'd made her decision. She would get Emma into therapy, someone good, someone who specialized in childhood trauma and family dysfunction. She would watch her daughter carefully, monitor for any signs of escalating behavior, and if necessary, she would get more serious help. But for now, she would protect her child, the way she hadn't been able to protect her marriage. 2 weeks later, Sarah sat in Diane's office signing papers. The divorce would be simple. Michael had agreed to everything, desperate to avoid a trial, terrified of what Sarah might say to his partners at the law firm. He'd already moved out of the house, staying with a friend while they worked out custody arrangements. Jessica had called 17 times. Sarah had blocked her number after the third voicemail, unable to listen to her sister's tearful apologies and justifications. Her mother had called too, begging Sarah to reconsider, saying that families worked through these things, that 10 years of marriage was worth fighting for. Sarah had told her mother the truth. Some things couldn't be worked through. Some betrayals were too deep. She hadn't told anyone about Emma's confession. That secret felt too dangerous to share, too volatile. She'd found a child psychologist, Dr. Morrison, a kind woman with gray hair and gentle eyes, and Emma had been seeing her twice a week. Sarah didn't know what her daughter talked about in those sessions. She'd asked Dr. Morrison if Emma had mentioned anything concerning, and the doctor had simply said that Emma was processing a lot of trauma, but that she seemed like a bright, empathetic child who was struggling with age-appropriate concepts of justice and fairness. Age-appropriate. Sarah clung to that phrase like a lifeline. "Sarah?" Diane was looking at her expectantly, pen held out. "Just need your signature here." Sarah took the pen, her hand steady, as she signed her name. Sarah Mitchell, soon to be Sarah Bennett again. Back to her maiden name, back to who she'd been before Michael, before marriage, before everything fell apart. "That's it," Diane said softly. "He'll be served tomorrow. We should have everything finalized within a few months, assuming he doesn't contest anything. He won't." Sarah felt oddly detached, watching herself from a distance. He's too guilty. Diane studied her for a moment. "How are you holding up? Really?" "I don't know." Sarah's voice was flat. "Some days I'm fine. I go to work, take care of Emma, do the dishes, and everything feels normal. Other days, I can't get out of bed. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed, all the times he said he had to work late or that Jessica was going through a hard time and needed support. I was so fucking blind." "You trusted him. That's not the same as being blind, isn't it?" Sarah stood, gathering her purse. "I should get going. I need to pick up Emma from therapy." Diane walked her to the door, then hesitated. "Sarah, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you—" Diane chose her words carefully. "Are you okay with Emma? I know this has been hard on her too, and sometimes kids act out in unexpected ways when their parents divorce." Sarah's blood went cold. "Why do you ask?" "No reason. Just, you seem worried. More worried than just about the divorce." Diane touched her arm. "If you need help, if Emma needs help, there are resources. You don't have to handle everything alone." Sarah forced a smile. "We're fine. Emma's in therapy, and that's helping. But thank you." She left before Diane could press further, her heart pounding. Did Diane suspect something? Had Sarah been too transparent, too protective when discussing Emma? The paranoia was exhausting, almost as exhausting as the grief. Emma was waiting in Dr. Morrison's lobby, drawing in her sketchbook. She looked up when Sarah entered, her face brightening. "Hi, Mummy." "Hi, baby. Ready to go?" Dr. Morrison emerged from her office, smiling. "Could I speak with you for a moment, Sarah?" Sarah's stomach dropped, but she kept her expression neutral. "Of course." She followed the doctor into her office, leaving Emma in the lobby with the receptionist. Dr. Morrison gestured to a chair, settling into her own. "I wanted to check in with you about Emma's progress," she began. "She's been very open in our sessions, which is wonderful. We've been working through her feelings about the divorce, about her father's infidelity, About family dynamics. That's good. Sarah's voice was tight. Has she mentioned anything concerning? Concerning in what way? I don't know. Violent thoughts? Revenge fantasies? Anything that would worry you? The doctor smiled gently. Sarah, it's completely normal for children Emma's age to have strong justice orientations. They see the world in black and white, good people and bad people, right and wrong. When someone they love is hurt, they often fantasize about punishing the person who caused that hurt. It doesn't mean they would actually act on those fantasies. Right, of course. Sarah felt sick. Of course. Emma has expressed anger toward her father and her aunt, which is healthy and expected. She's also expressed deep loyalty to you and some guilt about not being able to protect you from pain. Dr. Morrison leaned forward. Has something happened that I should know about? This was the moment. She could tell her, could unburden herself of this terrible secret, share the responsibility of deciding what to do about Emma's actions. But if she did, what then? Would Dr. Morrison be required to report it? Would child services get involved? Would Emma be labeled dangerous, disturbed, a child who'd tried to poison her father? Digitalis, Mom said casually. She was discussing a recipe. Small doses over 3 weeks. Builds up in the system, triggers cardiac arrest. Untraceable unless they're specifically looking for it. And why would they? David had high blood pressure. He was a walking time bomb. On the monitor, I watched my mother smile. And Emma? Dalton pressed. You're sure the drug thing will stick? Doesn't matter anymore. Even if she beats the charges, I'll have sold this house by then. She'll have nothing. No inheritance, no reputation, no leverage. She'll be exactly where she deserves to be. Powerless. Jesus, Liz, that's your daughter. Mom shrugged. She's a liability. David was too sentimental about her. Left her in the will. Wanted her to have the house someday. But I built this life. I put up with 30 years of mediocrity with that man. This is my payout. Rodriguez looked at me. We've got enough. Moving in now. The arrest was fast, professional. Rodriguez and 4 other officers entered the house, read my mother her rights, cuffed her while she screamed about lawyers and rights and conspiracies. Dalton was cuffed too, just for show. His deal was already done. I stayed in the van. I couldn't watch, couldn't face her. But then Rodriguez came back and said, she's asking for you. Sarah thought about the woman she'd been 2 weeks ago, flying home with her daughter, excited to surprise her husband. That woman was gone. She died the moment she opened that bedroom door and saw her sister sitting on her bed. In her place was this new Sarah, harder and sadder and more afraid. A Sarah who knew that love could curdle into betrayal. A Sarah who understood that even children could harbor darkness. A Sarah who would do anything to protect her daughter, even if it meant protecting Emma from herself. She closed the door softly and went to her own room. The divorce papers sat on her nightstand, a physical reminder of everything that had ended. But there was also a business card tucked underneath them, Dr. Morrison's personal line, in case of emergencies. Sarah picked up the card, running her thumb over the embossed letters. Not yet, she thought. They didn't need emergency intervention yet. Emma was getting better. They both were. But she kept the card close, just in case, because the truth was, Sarah didn't know if her daughter's darkness had been a momentary aberration or a window into something deeper. She didn't know if Emma's promise to never hurt anyone again would hold, and she didn't know if she could bear to find out. All she knew was that she loved her daughter with a fierce, primal intensity that terrified her. The kind of love that would excuse almost anything. The kind of love that could become its own form of poison. Sarah turned off the light and lay in the darkness, listening to the house settle around her. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. Somewhere else, Michael was probably lying awake too, nursing his guilt and grief. And somewhere between them, Emma slept peacefully, her small hand wrapped around her rabbit's ear, her face serene. "I've already punished Daddy." The words echoed in Sarah's mind. Impossible to forget, impossible to reconcile with the child she thought she knew. But maybe that was the thing about love and betrayal, Sarah thought as sleep finally claimed her. They taught you that you never really knew anyone. Not your husband, not your sister, not even your own child. You just loved them anyway, and hoped that was enough, and prayed it wouldn't destroy you in the end.